when you see people, when you see your friends winning in the world, climbing this mountain that's over on the left and reaping the benefits and getting rewarded for it, for you to say, "Bun that, I'm gonna go this way, I'm gonna go right, and I'm gonna delay gratification practically all my life, I'm gonna delay gratification until death, and you're not even certain about what happens after death, you've never seen the afterlife, no one's come back and told you anything about it, you're going on pure faith and belief in God alone, and what is written in this book, it's a difficult thing to do, innit? And as a finance professional, a bird in the hand is worth two in the bush, like that. Like, we want quick paybacks. Okay then. Pearl Cullen, welcome back. And today, I've titled this video, Wrestling with God. Sorry, I've titled this video, Wrestling with God, a love-hate relationship. Okay. So, before I begin, in the last video, can we live life as a PK? My advice to young PKs was to find another church which you can go to where nobody really knows who you are, so you can learn without the pressure and the weight of expectation to be perfect and without eyes constantly watching you. Now, after posting it, thinking about it again, I realized that option isn't really feasible because as a kid, you're still learning and probably not going to be able to discern which churches are biblically sound and which ones aren't on your own, okay? And it's highly unlikely that your parents will recommend a church that's outside of their denomination. If your parents are Pentecostal, it's unlikely that they're going to recommend you going to a Roman Catholic church. And this is a problem with modern day Christianity. Like, there are so many different denominations with like different doctrines, and it really shouldn't be like that. There should be one church, there's only one truth, it's either true or it's false, like that. When Christ revealed himself to Paul on the Damascus Road, Paul went to Jerusalem and spoke with Peter and James, the other apostles, to certify they were sharing the same gospel, okay? The big issue was that Paul was speaking to Gentiles and not Jews, but that's it. Like, other than that, the gospel is still the same. It still was the same gospel, And Psalms 12 says, the words of the Lord are flawless, like gold refined 7 times. So when you have different churches with different opinions on topics like divorce and remarriage, once saved, always saved, and even like female leadership, it really shouldn't be like that. Like, the fact that there are so many denominations with different practices is a genuine problem because it causes confusion. Additionally, I just wanted to say, like, my mom and my dad didn't put any pressure on me per se, like, to be perfect or anything like that. Like, the expectation didn't come from them. It's kind of like this subconscious expectation or weight of expectation that you feel as a PK. So it wasn't down to my parents or nothing like that. And I rarely think it is for a PK. But just wanted to clear that up. Okay. So, in terms of wrestling with God, I've wrestled with God for years, like at least half my life. Now, there's a story about Jacob wrestling with God in Genesis 32. Okay. God knocks Jacob's hip out of place, but Jacob demands a blessing and receives it anyway. Like, some say it was God, some say it was an angel, but it's irrelevant, okay? So for those of you that don't know the story of Jacob, I'll try my best to give you like a short summary, So Isaac had 2 sons, Esau and Jacob, okay? Jacob was the youngest and his mother's favorite. His mother well, their mother was called Rebecca, yeah. And Rebecca wanted Jacob to get his father's blessing. Now, the inheritance usually goes to the firstborn son. Jacob stole Esau's birthright and his blessing with the help of his mum, okay. He deceives his father and he ends up on the run because obviously his brother wants to kill him, right? So Jacob ends up staying with his uncle in the next town, but falls for his daughter Rachel, yeah. His uncle has two daughters, Rachel and Leah, right? Now, Jacob makes a deal with his uncle to work for him for 7 years for Rachel, innit? So he can have Rachel for himself or for his wife, yeah. However, his uncle deceives him and gives him Leah instead, yeah, the older sister. Okay, so this is kind of like karma. Now, I'm not even going to touch on the family dynamics. I don't want to discuss it today, but this is how the story goes, innit? Jacob ends up having to work another 7 years to get Rachel. So that's 14 years in total of servitude, okay? Now, Rachel was in fact barren. Like, even though she's the younger sister and the pretty one, she was barren, innit? Whereas Leah was able to have children. So, if you can imagine, there's a war, there's a competition going on between the two sisters now, which is why you should have one wife. You shouldn't have multiple baby moms. That's another topic I will get into in another video. But yeah, this whole polygamy thing, yeah, it's not that. Yeah, there's issues with it. I will explain them in another video. But eventually, Jacob had 12 kids and even one from Rachel, like the one that was barren, innit? And his name was Benjamin, yeah. And these 12 sons are the 12 tribes of Israel. Now, Jacob, having had all these kids and having these wives, he wants to go and live his own life, okay? He wants to set up and live his own life on his own land. Do you understand? He don't want to be working for his uncle anymore, okay? But he comes to an agreement with his uncle Laban, yeah, that's his name, to work for another 6 years. But during those 6 years, Laban keeps on changing the terms, okay? Eventually, Jacob decides to leave, okay? And he's on the run from Laban because Laban thinks that Jacob's cheated him, yeah? He's cheated him out of money and stock, livestock, okay? So, Jacob's on the run from Laban. He's out to kill him. And he's also on the run from Esau, his brother, who wants to kill him, okay? So Jacob's afraid for his life, right? And when Jacob was traveling with his family, one night he encountered an angel, a man in a tent, and they got into a fight. They wrestled, and this was Jacob wrestling with God, okay? And that's basically a summary of the story, right? So in my last video, I spoke about growing up as a PK and spoke about the challenges and negatives that come along with that, the problems, okay? Now, there are positives that come along with it, but the negatives tend to outweigh the positives, right? Now, for me personally, there was a lot of built up anger and resentment towards my parents and towards God for multiple reasons. So I wasn't really open to listening like that, okay? Now, it said that there are 4 emotions that can rule the heart and have the potential to destroy relationships. Anger being one of them, guilt, envy, and jealousy are the other 3. Like, I found this out in 2021, Unbelief. It's a book by Andy Stanley, I believe his name is. I'll explain it in another video and discuss it. It's a very interesting book, to be fair, but yeah, 4 emotions that rule the heart, or can rule the heart, yeah. Now, with that being said, I've been hearing the word of God from early. Like, I know scriptures. I know what the Bible says, or at least from what I've witnessed, I had an idea about it and the Christian life. So, as I said in a previous video, I went to an all-boys school, yeah. And when you're at school, you just want to fit in, okay? Let's be honest, nobody wanted to be the loner at school. Like, it may be cool now, but it definitely wasn't back then. Like, it just wasn't it, right? Especially at an all boys school. Like, you do not want to be a loner at an all boys school, yeah. And the thing with an all boys school is a competitive environment. Like, testosterone levels are off the charts, and we're all competing. Like, we're all trying to one up the next man, let's say, yeah. So, we'll talk about like who's got the best abs, who's pushing the most weight, or who can draw the most girls. Do you know what I mean? Like juvenile shit like that, yeah. We're 14, 15 at the time, yeah. On top of like who's getting the best grades or the most awards, but in the main, it's like who's drawing the most girls. Do you know what I'm saying? Now, because I had a medical condition, I wasn't really gonna compete with like these long distance endurance runners or anything like that. Like when it came to sports and that, and because I got a blood disorder, I was at a disadvantage, My body works harder to produce oxygen. Whereas when it came to women, I know I can win in that field, innit? So that was it for me. Like when it came to like drawing girls and who had the best girls, yeah, that was my area, which led to a whole bunch of problems. Okay, but it is what it is. Now at the time, there wasn't many Christian men, if any, that I aspired to be like. Okay, like not a single one. Yeah, they were either relatively broke, or they were out of shape, they were soft, or they didn't get women, they didn't get girls. Yeah, or they let the woman that they were with rule over them. Okay, not the type of man I wanted to be in it. On top of that, all of the girls that I knew in church weren't checking for no church boy. Yeah, so I'm leaning left, right? I'm leaning left. Yeah. Now I experienced a lot of cognitive dissonance since like 14. Okay. And if you don't know what cognitive dissonance is basically the mental discomfort that results from holding two or more conflicting beliefs, values, or attitudes, and this conflict usually causes discomfort. Yeah. Now, the inconsistency between what people believe and how they behave motivates them to engage in actions that will help minimize feelings of discomfort. Yeah. Because it's not a nice feeling. Like, you feel like shit, to be honest. Okay. So, because I have an idea of what God says about the things a man should pursue and how one should, let's say, move, but I'm also privy to what the world says, there's conflict, okay? There's cognitive dissonance because the two just don't mix, in it. They're like oil and water, yeah? Now, you may attempt to relieve this tension in different ways, okay? It could be by rejecting, it could be by explaining away, or just simply avoiding new information, yeah? And I did all three for a very long time. Like, I think a lot, yeah. I'm very much in my own head and I'm prone to overthinking. So the word would be pressing on me. And because I'm not trying to hear it at the time, I try and numb it out. Okay. And I had a lot of vices, but I used to distract myself with women in the main because that's what I was good at. Or I was good with women. Let's say that. Yeah, they're not objects. Women aren't objects. Okay. But I ended up battling addiction for years. Like, I couldn't tell anyone about it because obviously I was a PK. And to be honest, like, I didn't realize it was an addiction until I tried to quit. And then it was like, oh shit. Yeah. But I'll discuss that in another video. Like, it wasn't simply because of cognitive dissonance. There's other factors involved with it, yeah. But yeah, I ended up struggling with addiction for years, okay, in silence, in secret, yeah. But anyway, as I said, I know verses like Philippians 2 and it, do nothing from selfish ambition or vain glory, yeah. Matthew 16, for what will it profit a man if he gains the whole world and forfeits his soul? Or what will a man give in exchange for his soul? No servant can serve two masters, for either he will hate the one and love the other. You cannot serve God and wealth. Yeah. Friendship with the world means enmity with God. Yeah. Do not store up yourselves treasures on earth. Vanity of vanities, all is vanity. The whole of Ecclesiastes basically killed all of my motivation at one point. And I would say that I'm an ambitious person and I can be quite competitive when I want to be. Yeah, but I can be incredibly lazy too. Like, I'm the type of person where, let's say, if I have a goal in mind, I'll try and work out the most efficient method in achieving that goal before I even start it. Okay. Now, I've started a couple of businesses in the past. I've always had an interest in business, and my startup ideas were genuinely good ideas. Obviously, with startups, with businesses, it's more about execution, but you need to have an idea in it. Yeah. So my ideas weren't shit. Yeah. But again, like, I've got all these verses in my head, right? And building a business is hard work. It takes a lot of time and energy to do it. So yes, I could build this business if I wanted to. If I really put my mind to it, I have no doubt about that, right? But I would always end up questioning myself, like, what is the real motive behind it? What's the intent? Is this just a vanity project? Like, what purpose does it ultimately serve? Is this my real purpose in life? Like, and a lot of the time, I concluded that they were vanity projects. I didn't really want to spend my time and build this business or build this company for it to be meaningless at the end of the day. Like, I'm very much outcome focused in it. So if I don't see the point in it, I'm not going to do it in it. I'm not going to be inclined to do it. I don't want to be climbing the wrong mountain when the mountain I should be climbing is way over there in it. Yeah. So I would end up abandoning them, or at least putting them on the back burner before they truly kicked off, right? Now, this ultimately got me into investing because I just have to put up the money in it, and you do the work basically, and I get a return. Okay, that was the plan anyway, right? However, however, I got involved with some scammers around that time. Yeah, one of my friends was into it, and she brought me in. She was a good friend of mine at the time, East Asian girl, right? And we were studying accounting together at college. We're not scamming people. We're not scamming the system. We're scamming banks. Okay, like, she told me how it all works, and it made sense. Like, from an accounting point of view, it made logical sense. Okay, and me being a curious person that I am, I'm like, all right, cool. Say no more. Let's go in it. But I ended up destroying my credit. Yeah, I ended up destroying my credit rating for like 7 years, innit? So I couldn't access credit for 7 years, and my credit was pretty much A plus at the time. Like, my credit's good now, but those 7 years were brutal, innit? So for 7 years, I'm working for Uncle Sam. Yeah, Uncle Sam is my Laban. Yeah, Uncle Sam is my Uncle Laban. Yeah, and to be fair, I think it was God disciplining me and protecting me at the same time, because it could have been a lot worse, because it's basically fraud, yeah. And because I was studying accounting and finance at the time, like, my intention was to go into investment banking or into venture capital or private equity. If I was to catch a case for fraud, like, my career would be done. So needless to say, I had to end up cutting ties with her in it, because that company corrupts good morals, like that. But when you see people, when you see your friends winning in the world, yeah, climbing this mountain that's over on the left and reaping the benefits and getting rewarded for it, for you to say, Banna, I'm gonna go this way, yeah. I'm gonna go right, and I'm gonna delay gratification practically all my life, yeah. I'm gonna delay gratification until death. And you're not even certain about what happens after death. Yeah. You've never seen the afterlife. No one's come back and told you anything about it. You're going on pure faith and belief in God alone. Yeah. And what is written in this book, it's a difficult thing to do, isn't it? And as a finance professional, a bird in the hand is worth two in the bush. Like that. Like, we want quick paybacks. Yeah. So if you're asking me to step out of the world, not that it's been particularly kind to me, but if you're asking me to step out of the world and subject myself to potential ridicule and persecution whilst everyone I know is living their best life now, even if the word says this life is a reward, it's still hard to just sit on that and to live a relatively quiet and boring life, especially when you've experienced what the world has to offer and then you try and bring yourself out of the world. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, it's a difficult adjustment to make. It's not impossible, it's just difficult. There's a process to it and it takes time, innit? It's like having eaten meat all of your life and having all of these different options available to you, and then you become a vegetarian, but you're still surrounded by all these meat eaters. And when you go out to a restaurant, there's hardly anything on the menu for you to eat, like that. Like, there's a process to it and it just takes time. I believe God is real. Like, I believe there is a being out there that must have created the world, like the heavens and the earth, declare his glory in it. Like, you can just look outside and just know that there has to be a creator to have created all of this. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, it can't just come out of nothing like that. That's ridiculous. That's just stupid, yeah. With that being said though, even though I believe God exists, I've always wanted more evidence, okay? It's like, I believe, Lord, but help my unbelief. And there have been times where God has come through for me. Like, I can't deny, like, I should have died in 2012, yeah? I was in ICU with acute chest syndrome. I was in intensive care for like 2 weeks, and rightfully, I should have died whilst I was there, but I survived, innit? If you don't know what acute chest syndrome is, it's basically like your lungs are being attacked, innit? And they are compromised, they get damaged, okay? And I remember when I was in the hospital, there was another patient across from me, yeah? And one night, the window must have been open, okay? But the man said he saw an angel covering me, like one of the angel's wings were covering my neck and my chest, okay? At least that's what he told me, and I would like to believe that's true, innit? But I also remember when I was in ICU at the time, I was trying to pray and I couldn't pray. Like, every time I tried to pray, I just had a vision of Jesus dying on a cross, just bleeding out, and it inhibited my ability to pray, like, because it was just so vivid and so graphic. Yeah, I didn't even want to close my eyes. Yeah. And these are just some of the experiences that I've had. Like, there's way more where I'm certain God has come through for me. Like, even with my medical condition, even with my blood disorder, yeah, I can count on one hand how many times I've actually been admitted into hospital, like that. But even even with that, like, I still wouldn't surrender. Like, I wouldn't fully yield, okay? So I've always struggled with, how do I achieve what I want in this world without compromising on God's word? Yeah. So I've been lingering at the base of this mountain, yeah, for years. Like, it's taken me years to figure it out. Like, I think I have now, but it took years to do it, okay? And, I realized, like, it's not so much my lack of trust in God, but my lack of trust in myself, okay? Like, I can be a perfectionist at times. Like, even with this video, I recorded this video like a week ago, yeah, but I wasn't happy with it, okay? So I've done it again, like that. Like, and perfectionists are prone to having an intense fear of failure, okay? And I only realized this within, the last couple of years when I was seeking, yeah. And it's a fear of failure within myself. Like, the last thing I want to do is walk this path and fall off. I've attempted to walk this path before. Like, I've been down in the water. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, I got baptized, made this vow, made this promise to God, and the enemy just sifted me out like wheat. Do you understand? Like, literally a week later, 2 weeks later, I got everything that I desired. Do you know what I'm saying? In this world. Yeah. And that was it for me. Do you know what I'm saying? At the time, I got everything that I desired at the time in this world. Yeah. And yeah, it just fell apart from there. So I wouldn't want to do it twice. Do you know what I mean? Like, that could never be me. I didn't want that to ever be me. Do you know, like that? And it come like it really is the flesh warring against the spirit. Like I said, I know scriptures, but the enemy knows scriptures too. Like that. Like, there was a constant battle going on in my mind. There still is to an extent, because it's like every time I try to get out, the world just keeps on pulling me back in, innit? And it's like, for every argument I can make for God with verses, there is a counter argument I can make which just, twists scripture and it enables me to put it off. It's always been an issue. There's always been this duality, okay? And, the word says, a double-minded man is unstable in all his ways and shouldn't expect to receive anything from God, okay? So even with that, it's like, we're going into like lukewarm Christianity, yeah, which is I'll do a separate video on lukewarm Christianity, okay? But it's not good to be double-minded, right? Like, the pride in me used to say, I can do this without God. Like, I used to believe that because there were so many pagans in the world who are successful, people who needed God to make it were too weak to do it by themselves, innit? And needed God as a crutch, or they used God as an excuse to not try. It's foolishness, but it's just what I believed at the time, innit? Yeah. With that being said, these pagans are actually worshipping and being rewarded by the enemy, innit? Yeah, let's not get it twisted. Like, that's another subject for another time, but, these pagans are worshipping someone. Do you know what I'm saying? And doing the enemy's bidding, doing the enemy's work. Yeah, just know that. But I know that each day God gives me is an act of grace and mercy, because I really shouldn't be here. Yeah. I'm still here for a reason. Like, I still have a purpose. Like, I truly believe that. Do you know what I mean? And the thing for me now is like, if I can help even one person improve their relationship with God, like, then my time on this earth is, and everything I've been through is worthwhile, or has been worthwhile, because who knows what that person will then go on to do, or who that person will go on to influence. Like, I already know about marketing, I know about strategy, I know about psychology, influence and persuasion, like all of that. Yeah, likability, social proof, reciprocity. I know all of that, okay? But I don't really care about numbers like that. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not expecting crazy growth on this channel because of the type of content that I make. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, I really don't do this for me. Like, there's a lot of other things I could be doing, but I believe this is what I'm called to do. Like, Block 101, I haven't posted on for a couple of weeks, and it's not, obviously I've been ill for, well, since August. There's just been one thing after the other. But what I'm doing on this channel, I believe is more beneficial than that channel. Like, yes, I can teach you how to invest, how to make money, but what's more important to me is your soul. Do you understand? Yeah, and where you're going to end up once you pass on. Yeah, once you finish this life.